Hey, welcome back to another episode of the Why Not podcast. Today we have Healthy Relationships Part 3. Now, I know what you're thinking. What are four men going to teach me about healthy relationships? Hey, we're going to tell you a thing or two. Something I want to do differently on this episode is speak about healthy relationships outside of the context of romantic relationships, outside of dating, outside of marriage. We always talk about soft skills, right? And how they can advance your career or even your personal life. And I think at the pinnacle of soft skills is maintaining and cultivating healthy relationships. So we're going to get into that. I got some questions for you guys here. I'd love to hear your thoughts on. First, let's go around the room and introduce ourselves. Name and squadron. Go ahead, sir.
Name, Master Sergeant Houston Cole from 5MXS.
Text on Truth on the 891 Missile Security Forces Squadron. Go Knicks.
Go
Yeah.
Knicks.
C. Airman Beeman from 891st MSFS.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys so much for joining us today. I don't want to start off with anything too broad, but I'm gonna. What does a healthy relationship mean to you?
Healthy relationship. What does it mean to me? For me, I think it's just connectivity in general, whether that's going to be progressive in like a career field or your friendships or your social circles, mentors, right? Pretty much any aspect that we deal with connecting with other people in general. So for me, healthy, constructive criticism and feedback is really critical, right? So even in friendships, like trying to navigate what's acceptable, what's not acceptable, what's unacceptable, those boundaries, make sure those healthy boundaries are openly set so that everyone's aware of those boundaries is really key. So for me, that's kind of where it lays the lines, just really enforcing those boundaries.
That says that I think we end this podcast right here. Thank you very much for listening. Sergeant Truth, specifically in the professional setting, what does healthy relationships mean to you?
A relationship that works. So there has to be honesty, transparency. There has to be effort in every relationship. So if, both sides have to see the other side's point of view, but ultimately when it comes to work on the mission, it's like, how do we get this done? But also where we can be comfortable. But it has to be a relationship that we're meeting, minds are meeting, so we can move forward together.
Does a healthy relationship always avoid conflict?
No, a healthy relationship, you do not avoid conflict because you don't want those festering feelings inside where two people are avoiding each other or don't want to speak because it rubs off in the work area and other people see it and notice it. So no, you have to have that tough conversation immediately to knock that off so we can move forward. Yeah.
Go ahead.
I would say for healthy relationship, at least with coworkers, and I like when you brought up mentorship. I think that's really key important, especially if you want to learn and improve from each other. It's nice to have a healthy relationship, especially as your leadership and the people that you work with and you see every single day.
Okay. So all of you gave me a very thoughtful answer as to what healthy relationships mean to you, but how did you learn that? It's arguably, I would consider maintaining healthy relationships and absolving conflict as the single most important thing that you can know how to do as a human, as a professional worker, as an airman, as a friend, as a son, as a lover. But it's one of those things that you'll never come across. There'll never be a point where someone sits you down and says, hey, here's healthy relationships class.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of important things that we're expected to know into adulthood. And usually at some point, someone very formally teaches you how to do that. But that never happens with healthy relationships, which I think is fascinating. So how did you get your idea of a healthy relationships and how to resolve conflict? How did you learn it? Did you just figure it out one day?
Hell no.
Yeah.
To start there. So for me, there's a lot of things that, looking back now, I wish I knew younger, right? But as you grow through it, it's murky, it's muddy, it's not clean, right? Trying to navigate it. And the worst of it would be self-reflection at the end of the day, knowing when your shortcomings was the actual problem when you're dealing with building those relationships up, right? Like if you're blind to your own blind spots, then you can't fix those things. So having a healthy relationship, openness, setting those boundaries early, and ensuring that you're having that open communication to it's okay to be the dumbest person in the room. You don't know something. Ask that question. Be like, hey, this came off to me this way. How did it come off to you? Have those hard conversations. Um, when most supervisors like to call it, just healthy conflict. It's okay to get heated and about your beliefs and your passions and things like that when it comes to having a healthy relationship and what those boundaries are. Just make sure that you're taking it not personally. Especially in the workplace,
Mm.
right? Take it professionally, not personally. Know when it's professional and not personal, and separate that boundary. Because a lot of times we take a lot of things very personal, especially when it goes against our own personal value systems. So for me, what really got me on the track of understanding a healthy relationship is just knowing my values and what my personal triggers are, so that I don't allow those to be the thing that sets off a negative relationship, and ensure that someone around me knows what those are, so they know, like, okay, hey, these are temperamental things. I'm not going to talk to this person about that, right? And so you build that relationship more and that trust, and are more willing to listen to that type of feedback. So,
Mhm.
so for me, it's very difficult to learn, you know. Um, but trial by error is honestly, for me, it was the healthiest way to learn. I had to know what those were, and people reinforcing those boundaries and going, that's not okay,
Mhm.
and not take that personally.
Yeah, you mentioned acknowledging your shortcomings. And for me, that's kind of where I found a lot of growth with myself is, I mean, it feels so good just to like apologize, like really just recognize that you messed up and apologize.
Mhm.
Like that is honestly going to take you so far. It's taken me very far in a lot of situations where I just truly, it's hard to admit that you might have done something wrong. You might have like your little case for how it's still not your fault or whatever, but just recognizing that like even though some parts of that might be true, there were parts that you had some flaws in that interaction. um and to me, like apologizing for something I may have done wrong feels better than like winning, being like, oh, see, I this is what I did, not what you're saying, so like that. Always just apologizing and admitting fault always just feels better than winning, whatever that means.
I like that you mentioned winning, because even in personal relationships, it gets that way, right?
Yep.
Whether it's your friendships or anything like that, it's not about winning. It's about being better people, being better
Exactly.
friends, better teammates, better coworkers, better mentors. It's not about the winning. It's about what's right, right? And if I'm wrong, that's okay. And don't take that personally at the end of the day when saying, hey, this is not okay, or this is wrong, right? Okay, cool. Tell me why you think that. Let's get on the same page here, right? And having those discussions. And if it gets murky, it gets murky. But be willing to set that expectation early and be like, hey, if we get into this, we'll table it and we'll come back to it when we're cool headed, right? Set expectations early and set those early boundaries up and have that conversation so that you're ready to have that kind of conversation with that person.
Mhm. Couldn't agree more. Sergeant Truth, what are some of your where have you learned to have healthy relationships? Was it a book that you read and you close that cover and you're like, oh, I get it now?
No, I think in my age group it was more of failing. We Most of my experience came from failing and just falling forward. So I mean, one thing that crosses my mind is like my son, right? So because it's this age gap, he's in his third year of college, so there's certain things that may trigger him or he doesn't understand that we have to communicate to come to that understanding. And luckily I had a study group by analyzing him, so it works for my troops at work, so I can understand them even when it comes to
Mm-mm.
like little lingo or what that means. So um and because the Air Force is not how it was before, so there's no more shut up in color. So there's still accountability, but how do you address a situation without just, hey, just do this, and not going in detail to come to the understanding of why this is important, why you should not do this, and how to properly lead someone. So, but yeah, most of the experience was just failing forward off of either with subordinates, coworkers, or relationships that just didn't work, and understanding, like reflecting of what could have been done better. But that takes, like you said, that goes back into the pride. You have to be willing to accept that this is where I was wrong. Okay, I won't. How do I fix this next time? And the next time that situation comes across, you better address it. But you can't let your emotions get the best of you. You have to stay on topic and whatever it is that's bringing these emotions out. So.
Would you say that handling conflict, resolving conflict with your son helped you become a better leader in the Air Force?
Oh yeah, without a doubt, especially with the airman now.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Awesome. Thank you for that. How did you figure it out?
Um, I would say, I mean, haven't had much experience, but I would say especially like BMT and being around a bunch of people you don't know, and if you have a like one mission together and a goal, it's I think it was very because you see the sides of you don't um choose to you gotta be I would say you learn patience with everyone. Everyone's a different walk of life, everyone's born in different places and grew up different like differently. So I would say especially in BMT trying to learn all that and try to understand each other definitely helped the mission of all of us passing. It's even here with when you get new teammates and new squads and you're in a whole new squadron and you work with these people every single day. It's just nice to get to know them and um, especially yeah, I would say patience for sure. But
Nice. Yeah, BMT is a great example. I mean, starting to realize this is like a recurring theme for a lot of these podcast episodes is no matter what the topic is, there's usually a point where we talk about how the military kind of props up resiliency and adaptability, specifically with relationships, right? Like there's not too many situations, there's not a lot of career paths that are going to put you in an entirely new group of people this frequently. Even just from BMT to tech school to your first duty station, you're in these huge pools of people. You know, that could be all three of those things could happen within 6 months, and you have to figure out how to get along with these people. Or if you don't get along with them, you're gonna have to figure out what to do about it because you still have to work together for a common goal. Um, and that itself is such a lesson in maintaining relationships, even if it's just with your airhead dorm chief all the way up to your, to your supervisor. So that is something that is very unique to the military, I think. And it's another reason why maintaining relationships it should be thought about with intent rather than just kind of floating through these groups of people and like, some people I get along with, some people I don't. I avoid the people I don't like, and I, stay with people that I do get along with. So that's just too easy.
Yeah,
But
absolutely. Yeah.
yeah. So I want to share. I mean, it feels like it's surprising to me that there is so much science on having healthy relationships. There are some very old studies about.
Yeah.
I believe there's one study Harvard did. They started it in 1935, and they got like a couple thousand people, and just kind of kept in touch with them. I didn't go too much into detail about the story, but the scientists kept in touch with these people their entire lives, and the findings. I mean, I have a quick little snackable quote here from. It wasn't that study; it was a similar study out of Berkeley's Greater Good Science Center. Little quote here is: having close relationships with family or friends provides love, meaning, support, and increase our feelings of self-worth. I mean, love, meaning, support, and self-worth. I mean, sign me up. Like, isn't that all kind of what we're in the pursuit for, right?
Yes.
And to keep going, our broader social networks, like those in local community or at school or work, can contribute to a sense of belonging. Skip forward a little bit. Having a network of social connections or high levels of social support even appears to increase our immunity to infection, lower our risk of heart disease, and reduce mental decline as we get older. You're telling me that having like hanging out with my friends after work is reducing my risk of cognitive decline? What do you think is going on there? How is maintaining these social circles? How is that affecting the longevity of my brain?
I think it probably just taking a swing at that because that is
Yeah,
very
it's
deep
all
what
we
he
can
wrote.
do.
Yeah, is because I'm pretty much a loner, and I'm alone a lot. But there are those times where I do feel like there's a desire, like not a desire, but there's a need to be around people. And I do think it kind of helps with that communication, and there's a sense of joy that I have when I'm around people for a certain amount of time, not too long. And so I think I can see how that brings peace and that helps with the mind and with health, because if you take like an infant child and you show them no love, it's a possibility that child will die because a child needs love to order to nourish and grow. That's part of one of those. So I totally understand it and I support that. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it shows how primal our need for connection is. I
Yeah.
think I guess it proves our brains and bodies evolved with close social circles,
Hmm.
um, or something like that. I
Yeah.
don't know.
So I'm typically introverted, but I'm more of an extroverted introvert once I'm comfortable. So I tend to talk a lot more. And as I've gotten older, I've definitely shown more extroverted tendencies. And as I've gotten older, I'm that person now. I'm out of my section, walking, talking shop with people, whether they be fellow senior NCOs, young airmen, anybody. I like to get FaceTime and talk with people, and I've done a lot more reflecting on that recently, and it kind of gives me that barbershop kind of attitude where you always see the scene, all the old guys, and they're just talking about events and connectivity and things like that, and you're just like, but there's some science behind that, and um, when you think about it, just you're engaging your brain, right? So the more you engage your brain mentally, obviously it's going to help
Mhm.
deter, long-term negative effects, and strengthen those, not again, two scientific synapses, electrical
Mhm.
pieces in your brain. But that connectivity allows that engagement. Whereas if you isolate more, you're not getting that engagement, right? So having that portion of it kind of like really makes a
Mhm.
big difference. And I find I'm in a better mood all day when I'm out and about talking with people rather than being in my little
Yeah.
section doing all my admin all day. So if I get out and about moving, plus moving a little bit helps too, right?
Oh
So
yeah.
that connectivity piece
Mhm.
and finding those sense of belonging you mentioned, all that stuff really gives you really good benefits for your body and your mind. So
Erwin Beeman, do you consider yourself a social creature? Or do you lean more towards intro or extrovert?
Definitely introvert. Um, but
We got three introverts on the Healthy Relationships podcast. No, I love it.
but I would like agree if when I get to know more people and I get closer with them, I start to, I guess, go out of your shell a little bit more. Um, but yeah, I would say that.
I agree. I agree. He didn't talk much when we first met, and I never stopped talking. Yeah.
I think that's normally the case, right?
Yeah.
Like people think that like if they were to walk in this room right now and they're not doing this class clown and dance, they just consider themselves an introvert. Like most people are just kind of somewhere in the middle, and just the fact that we are like there are findings like this with studies like this shows that for the most part everyone has that extroverted kind of bone in their body somewhere. They just never got nurtured, and they just kind of got into this habit of not really prioritizing friendships, or maybe
Mhm.
you just relationships as a whole. So
We're not too different from animals if you think about it, right? Wolf packs, tiger, like all of them. Well, the tiger is more loner, but he always comes back to his family and leaves, come back. But yeah, animals are the same way. They're always grouped up, you know.
especially the most like successful
Yeah, group.
predators, right? Like
Yeah.
orcas.
Hmm.
I mean, elephants aren't predators, but they're
Yeah.
highly intelligent animals.
Very.
Yeah, wolves.
Hmm.
Um, right on. Well, I think the military brings a very special set of challenges. Um, there's no one on the planet that I love more than my 4 or 5 best friends, all home in California. So that was one thing when I was thinking of enlisting that really was like a pain point for me, was like I can't leave the bully. Like, who am I gonna hang out with? Found out they're super replaceable, every single one of them. I'm just kidding. But no, I have such an amazing circle of friends here that I'm very thankful for. And I think being in the military forces you to kind of redefine what it means to have a friend or what it means to have family, right? Our NCOs, they have 3 kids, and their birthday parties are our office. Typically a situation where you'd have your family and friends over, which in this case is
Hmm.
not the option. It's not an option to have grandma and grandpa and all the cousins come over. So instead, we, celebrated Miles' first birthday as the office. And that was, I remember doing that. I was here for about 6 months. And that's what made me realize, like, oh, this is kind of, in terms of, relationships and family and friends, this is kind of what the military is all about. Like, we have only met this kid a handful of times. We all brought presents and little snacks. Like, it was just so nice to kind of give the Millers just a proper birthday, their first birthday party for their third son. So I think situations like that, even though I wouldn't say that that took a whole lot of work, right? I mean, I was more than excited to go hang out with my office outside the office, but yeah, I think that's just an example of how, that's military relationships for you, a military family. I don't know if I'm sure you guys can relate to that to some extent.
So definitely a little bit of both actually, right? So sometimes we got that nice, perfect, warm team, welcome, and a lot of good people, helpful connectedness. But what most people don't really understand is like, especially in the military, that kind of stuff takes volunteers at the end of the day. People with good open-minded attitudes and making that a priority. Whereas there's been times where I've been in sections and you get there and they're just like, cool, welcome to the team. And then you almost never talk to them, and that could be very difficult. Like you said, I found myself working down some emotions, trying to figure out like, okay, well, do I really matter to this team? Do I belong in this team? Where do I fit in? Trying to find those boundaries, those connections, that trust. It's hard to build that without that connectivity piece. And, I've been very fortunate to now I'm that guy to embrace that and push that across, my sections and things like that, get everyone on the same page, same team, build that trust level up so that we can have that connectivity. And I think you nailed it with some of those points there. So
Thank you. Thoughts over there?
In security forces, I think it's hit or miss because a lot of times it's always the mission and the job, and you may be at work for, they may say you're working 12 hours, but it's more like 14. And then if you're in a missile field, you live out there. So when you're off, you really don't spend that much time together, to be honest with you. So you may have your select group of friends, but it's not like when I work like in sections, like if I work like mission assurance, anti-terrorism, it's like 6, 7 of us. Those relationships were more intimate, and we did stuff like you were mentioning with birthday parties or going out to eat together. But a lot of times, there's a flight. It's just hard to do that because it's just mission, 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 and by the time you get home, you're tired. And then days off, you may, like I said, hang out with those 1 or 2 people that have the common interests. But it's bringing that intimacy is kind of difficult when you know, you have a flight of, a squadron of like 280 people.
yeah.
So,
Absolutely.
but with my squad, yes, we have that. But as a whole, like it's hard to bring that into a security forces squadron.
Mhm. Yeah, absolutely. There's, every unit, every career field is going to present its own challenges with, making friends, that supervisor to airman kind of relationship. That's something I forget about. Not every office is our cozy little PA office where the 12 of us are all just hanging out and making reels together. But yeah, I mean, especially in security forces, I can't imagine, like, that's just night and day compared to.
And I do want to add that I believe airmen, it's easier for them to meet people and it's a genuine relationship. I think the higher ranking you get, the more difficult it is because people are now more concerned about promoting and stuff like that instead of just building a genuine friendship. Yeah.
Sure. Thoughts?
I'm so far I'm extremely grateful for when you have NCOs and people above you, like mentors, and they want to get to know you and want to know like what you do on your off time. They want to help you through your career. I feel like that's been really beneficial, at least when I've been here, and like I said, very grateful for that.
Awesome. Well, it's been great, guys. Is there anything you guys want to add to, how relationships can improve your airmanship, how it can improve you as a leader, how it can improve you as a son, as a lover?
So for me, I would say be open to the opportunities. Throw yourself into things that are a little bit out of your comfort zone, not completely uncomfortable, right? But a little bit. Don't be afraid to bring people along with you when you're doing things and trying new things. Be open to those experiences because at the end of the day, especially in the military, when we go do the real thing out the door, right? We go downrange, we go deploy, we near peer adversaries, whatever the case may be. We got to develop that trust among us to know, hey, we're getting something really murky here, but I know you got my back, right? So building those healthy relationships goes a long way in setting those standards and stuff early. But every single person in the military will tell you we're forged in fire at the end of the day. When you go do the real thing and those relationships you see that are really close when they come back from deployments, it's because they went through something together, right? At the end of the day, that they didn't expect they'd ever go through, It's just those weird small moments that really define us as our characters that really get to shine out there when we are really doing the things that we train to do every day. But they actually finally shine out there and then forged in fire. Other people call it trauma bonding, right? But I like to say forged in fire more just because at the end of the day, it's not always a problem, right? It could be a good experience too, not a bad one. So, and that's what I think I'm going to leave with.
Couldn't agree more. That's the brotherhood of airmanship I think you just described.
Yep.
Thoughts over there?
I know we already we said so much about healthy relationships, but one thing I do before we close is a healthy relationship is when it's the person's it's for you when you go through tough times.
Hmm.
So, you lose a family member, you lose your house, you go through a separation, divorce, child dies, um, you name it, legal issues, or whatever the case may be. Because I've seen people come on the other side of that, like troops of mine, and they're like the attachment that they have to me now because I was the only one that stayed in their corner. And the same thing with just in life in general, when you have great news, the people that are genuinely happy for you, those are your friends for life, So the ones that become jealous, well, time to kind of cut them off. So, but yeah, you know who your friends are in those health relationships when a tough time comes. Everyone's willing to be on board when everything's going smooth.
So that support system is
Yeah.
what you're describing.
Right.
I think that's kind of the primary function of a relationship is to
Mhm.
be a support system, someone to lean on when you're going through those times or when you're going through those times together. I think
Yeah.
that is the most foundational uh, function of love, I
Right.
guess.
Yeah.
Thoughts?
Um, as I just got recently married in January, and I would say definitely communication. I think I have a tendency to hold in my feelings since growing up, but I would say definitely communicate how you're feeling, how they're feeling. Always don't, go. I like the term "don't go to bed angry." Even with coworkers, like or my best friends, who I'll go to the gym with every single day. I feel like you still gotta know when they're going through something. It's nice to talk about it, and you have people who are your support system, so you can, express yourself too.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys so much for joining us. Again, there's probably a few books you can read, but until there is a better system for a formal training on how to have a happy relationship, then the best we can do is talk about it together, just like you should. Thanks for listening.